In this lesson, we are going to create a fun and simple portfolio with React Fiber, and I have actually the preview running right here. You can test it. You can see on my screen, you will be able to test it on your computer shortly. And as you can see, well, it seems to be working, and I have a portfolio right inside this, and I can scroll inside this portfolio here, which is inside that portfolio here, that WebGL portfolio, and the links are working, and I can scroll, and everything is working just like a website, but inside that screen here. And we're going to do that together. But first, let's talk about why we are doing that. So I'm going to close that preview and talk about why a portfolio. In web development, and more generally in digital industry, what matters most is your experience. All right, I know that some companies likes to see your diplomas and certificates, etc. But what matters most is your experience. Company and job recruiter will judge you on that. How do you display your experience? Well, you will probably create a portfolio where you will put those various projects and how you participated on those projects. That portfolio is actually one of your projects. And you probably know that. It's actually probably the most important one. I mean, you can create a very simple portfolio, just one page with a bunch of projects. That's already great. Do that if you don't have a simple portfolio yet. And with the various projects, because having some projects to display is already a good start. Creating a portfolio is long and difficult. All right, you probably guessed that too. You are your own client, and you're probably the most demanding client you could have. I know that. I've seen many people, and I'm in this case where you don't want to put your portfolio live until it's perfect, and at the end you never do it because you get more ideas and you think maybe I can do better, but you don't want people to see the work in progress of your portfolio, and at the end you never finish your portfolio, or you do one portfolio every year, whatever. So let's say that you already have a simple HTML CSS portfolio. All right, you create a simple page, just a one page with a HTML, CSS, no crazy stuff, React, and no crazy animation. Just you display them on a page, and you scroll through that page, and at least you have something. Let's capitalize on this one. All right. And make it look more exciting and more creative, just like I showed you right before, like this. All right, this is a single page. Let's say that you already have a page like this. You will be able to use mine, but if you have one page like this, maybe you can do it right now, like pause the video, create a quick page, put it online using Vercel or whatever. And so you have a single page, and we're going to put it inside a WebGL experience like this, to make it more fun. This is a concept inspired by what Paul, the usual Paul, I would say, that created a React Fiber. He did this experience. I was like, that's such a good idea, because it's a good example of how to use React Fiber super fast to create a cool experience super fast. And actually that makes sense, because it's going to make your portfolio much more interesting. So yeah, I put the link as always. Check the links tab. Okay. I'm going to close that. So through the lesson, we're going to set values that fit nicely. All right. To create that project on your own, you should use, as always, debug UI. You can use Leva, you can use Lead UI or whatever, because finding the right values, the right color, the right intensity, the right spring animation, you will see what I'm talking about a bit later, is hard, and you need to ease the process, and you should use a debug UI. We are not going to do it right now because I've already done that process. I hope you will like the various values and color I will give you. But if you want to improve that experience or do something like that on your own, use Leva or something else like this. About the setup. So the setup is very similar to what we had. I think it was on the 3D text lesson. It's just a cube. All right. With mesh normal material, we're going to get rid of this one once we have, I think it's when we have the computer. Right here, the laptop. I've already added Dray with orbit control so that we can rotate around, but we are also going to get rid of this one. We are going to get rid of almost everything. I just put stuff so that you know that the starter is working. And we are going to start with the background, because this one is way too bright. I like to have, it depends on what you really want to do, but a dark background will make the user focus on the actual content. That will be a bit more shiny, that will be a bit more bright. All right, so we are going to do something like that. It creates also something a bit more immersive. So let's go. You actually probably know how to do that. We are going to do it quite quickly. We create a color. I use the usual technique, you know, of adding a color on top of on the background property of the scene. I'm going to provide this color here. If you want to tweak the color, as I said earlier, be my guest. But make sure that it's not too dark, because we're going to see the shadow below the computer. So something dark, but not too dark. And we're going to attach it to the background property of background, not background, of the scene, because the only parent of this is the scene, and it's working. Nice. Next. Yeah, by the way, as you've seen, my HTML portfolio is orange, so I put some orange tint on the whole experience. But obviously, if your color is green, you put some green tints on the background and on something else that we will see a bit later. Next, we need a laptop. So what are we going to do to get a laptop? You could create it on Blender. Actually, that would be super cool, so that even the assets that you put on your website are from you, so that's even better. But instead, we're going to be a bit lazy and use some free model, and we're going to take it from, well, where to find a good model. We're going to take it from the Poimenders. Again, the Poimenders created a market, so a website where you can download a bunch of things like models. All right, there are some materials, there are some HDRs. I have trouble saying HDR eyes and some models, so we are going to focus on the models. So again, check that website if you're curious. There is a bunch of cool model, low poly in general, and by the way, they are under CC0. I'm not sure. Well, it's a public license. We can use them. There is no issue about that. If you want to add a small link somewhere in your website to say that this model comes from here, well, that's great. You can do that. So if you look for MacBook, yeah, if you search for laptop, it doesn't work. Computer, nope. But MacBook, you get this one here. So we're going to use this one. It's a bit big, like 1 megabyte, but it will do the trick. Oh, there is a warning now when something is a bit heavy. It's fine. 1 megabyte is okay. And maybe you can optimize it if you want. Yeah, so I was saying, yeah, most models are under the CC0 license, so no right reserved. You can do whatever you want with it. Let me check. I think the license is somewhere. Let me see. License. Yes, license right here. All right, I think most of the models have quite a public license. So we can use it. By the way, if you feel like helping, you can propose your own models to the Poimenders market. I don't know the process exactly, but I'm quite sure if you're creating some cool low poly models and you want to send them, they will be very happy to get them. So how do we implement the model? We have multiple options. We can download it and put it in the public folder. Check that. We can download that model here. We can copy the direct link. All right. If you click there and I'm going to paste it there, maybe there, so that you can see it. See that? It's a very specific link, and we get the actual model like this. It's from a CDN, and we can use that. Be careful, your link is probably different. I don't know, maybe they updated it or changed some stuff, or some cache has been emptied or whatever. You can download the various React through Fiber version. If you click on that tab here, you have the starter project. Oh, that's weird. Okay, now it's working. We have the starter project. We can copy the GSX scene graph. Let me check. I'm curious about this one. Yeah, check that. It's the component. It's the component version. So the indentation is a bit broken, but the component version seems to be working, and it will download the model from the CDN I was talking about right before. So this one here. So that's actually one of the best solutions you can use, so that at the end you can maybe control the various meshes and make the screen rotate. I don't know if the model is prone to that, maybe. Anyway, I'm spending too much on this one. Copy primitive import. I'm not sure what it is. Let me check. Okay, that's like the super simple version that we are actually going to do together. So let's not be too lazy. And there is a 3JS version, so I guess it's without React and stuff, and you can download it and you get a small project. I'm quite sure you can do npm install, npm run start maybe, and it should be working. All right, that's cool. We have many options. It's up to you to decide the one you want to use. We're going to go for the CDN link and just use GLTF to load the model. It's gonna be super easy. So let's go. You have the page open. Make sure it's open. Don't use my link in case it has changed. The Apple is upside down. Anyway, we are not going to see the back of the MacBook Pro, so it's fine. First, in experience.js, I think we are going to put everything in experience.js, but if your experience is getting a bit complicated, you should create components. We're going to retrieve the GLTF, import the GLTF helper that you already know, I think. And in there, we're going to load it using, so const computer equal use GLTF, and we're going to provide the link in there. You should not use my link, you should use the link you get by clicking right here. Okay, maybe the interface is a bit different if they updated the lesson, but check for the CDN link. So for me, it's copy direct link. And I'm going to pass it there. Don't use this link, use your link. Nice, if you want, you can log it and check the console, and we get it. All right, it's right here. Nice, let's move forward. We're going to add it to the simplest way possible by adding a primitive to the scene into the JSX and set it in the object attribute. And we need to provide not just the computer, it's the computer scene, which is a simple group. Let's go, and our computer is right here. It's all black because we have no light in the scene. We're going to fix that right now. Lights and environments. Let's use the environmental light with the environment helper from Dre. Okay, we're going to be super lazy. This project is really about gathering everything that we know so that we can create a portfolio in, I don't know, maybe 1 hour. So we're going to find to use some tricks and be efficient, and we're going to use the environment helper. So let's go. We are going to, if you don't remember, you will see clearly right now. So environment from Dre, and we're going to add it. It's going to be at the beginning. Why not? We're going to add it here. So environment, not computer, environment, and we're going to use a preset that will be loaded from CDN2, and the name is going to be city, and it's working. See, and we even have reflection on the screen so that we can see the city around. You have some buildings here and there, and we're going to, actually we won't be able to see those reflections because we're going to put the iframe on top of it. Spoiler alert, yes, we're going to use an iframe. We can get rid of the cube, so this one here, like that, so that we focus on the computer, this one here. Let's make our computer move a little, because right now it's a bit static. When the user arrives, he might think that this is just an image, and we're going to make the computer float like this. But first we need to lower it, okay, because the default set, the camera is looking at the center of the scene, and the computer seems to be a bit above the scene, so like if it's too high. We could use the center, but it will calculate the center of the object, which should be around here. And at the end, we will end up with the screen not being, I mean, we don't really care about seeing this part. If this part here, I mean, the keyboard and the trackpad are a bit offsetted, it's fine. We mostly want the screen to be near the center. So we are not going to use center, that we just do a mathematical centering. We're going to offset it using the position attribute, and more precisely the position Y. So let's go position on the primitive position Y, and we're going to lower it a little, so -1.2, like that. See, by default this is near the center, and it's just fine like this. If you want to move it a little, you can. I've kept some space here so that we can add the title. Maybe you remember from the example I've shown you. Next, we are going to make it float like this. We're going to use the float helper. We're going to use a bunch of helper, and it's so handy. So float like this, and we can add it around what we want to float, and it's the primitive, just the primitive. We don't want those to float. It makes no sense. And we add it over there, and it's floating. So convenient. Let's move forward. Remember that we are going to display HTML and CSS website in there, and the user will be able to click on the links to scroll, etc. If it moves too much, your user will have troubles clicking on the link and I don't know, selecting text, etc. So we need to fix that. We are going to lower the float intensity. To do that, we can do rotation intensity so that it doesn't rotate too much like this. And we can do 0.4. Okay, so now we just do a small rotation like this. Next, we can do, actually we are done with that. The position is okay. I mean, it's not moving too much and it's super slow, so we are not going to change the position. Next is about the camera and controls. We have been using the orbit controls for quite a long time, but we don't want to give too much freedom to the user, because right now you can really like rotate like this, do that, etc. And the solution we are going to use to display the website here, well, if we look at the website like this, we will be able to see the website. Also, I don't like that the apple is upside down. Doesn't make sense. I'm not sure if there was computer, like maybe the first MacBook Pros, they put the apple upside down. I'm not even sure. It would be weird. Anyway, we want to limit the controls. Instead of tweaking the properties of orbit controls, which is possible, you can like prevent translating, etc. We are going to use a Dray helper named presentation controls. This one is really cool too. Presentation controls doesn't work the same. It lets you manipulate the model, not the camera. Okay, so we are going to fix the camera at a very specific position and angle, which is actually the default one right now. And then when the user drag and drop, it will move the model. It's a different approach, but we get a kind of similar result, but we can limit how much it rotates and add a cool animation you will see a bit later. So yeah, actually internally it's using Spring. Okay, I'm not sure I've talked about Spring before. It's another Poemenders library that makes animation realistic and pleasant. Have a look to Spring. It's a super cool animation. It's not just about animating WebGL. You can animate DOM elements. It's a React thing, and yeah, you can create really cool animations where it feels realistic, like elastic animation, bouncing animation, etc. And it's physically based animations. So we are not going to implement Spring because presentation controls is doing it for us. So how do we add presentations control? First, we are going to import it like that. Next, we are going to remove orbit controls, and you can remove the import too. So remove the import here and remove the import here. If you save, you get the same result, but you can't rotate anymore. Okay, I'm drag and dropping and it's not working anymore. Next, we can add the presentation controls, and it's going to be around the float. All right, you put everything you want in there, like this, like this. Okay, and check that. Give it a drag and drop on the element. First, check the cursor. It's changing. I hope you can see it on the video. I don't know if my recording solution is showing it to you, but right now it's the default cursor, and right now it's the grab cursor that looks like this, and I can drag it and see that it's working. So it's not perfect. We have some tweaks to do, but it's working. And there are also some limitations. Like I try to go up and it's stuck like this. I can go down. At some point it's going to be stuck too. So that's great. It's not the perfect values, but it's working. Nice. First, I want the user to be able to do it from everywhere, because right now I'm doing it on the model. It's working. But if I do it there, it's not working. Since it's the only object that will be on my scene, I want the user to be able to drag it from anywhere in the scene. By default, we can only rotate it around. Yeah, we don't rotate around. Okay, that's it. To do that is super easy. Check that. I'm going to add global, just like that. Give it a reload, and now I can drag and drop from anywhere, just like that. Super convenient. Next, there is a small issue, and I don't know if you have an error right here. It depends on the version you're using. If you're using the same version as me, the error is not visible right now, but there is an issue that we need to fix, especially on mobile. If you drag and drop the object now, you might notice a warning in the console. It depends. You might notice it, but if you're using the same version as me, the warning, I think they removed it by default. Anyway, we're going to test the issue and to fix that issue. Presentation control is using use gesture. All right, it's another library to interact with elements using natural gesture. It's a great library if you want, I don't know, you have a slider and you want the user on its mobile or even using a desktop to drag and drop the things and that it feels good. And it's super handy for the developers to implement those kind of gestures. We don't need to dive deep into those things. We just know that Presentation Controls is using it. This library recommends adding the CSS property touch action to none in order to fix weird behavior on mobile when swiping. And I'm going to show you that issue on mobile. I can try to rotate around. It's kind of working, but it's quite hard. And if I give it, I don't know, like I want to see up, I do that and see it reloaded the page. Because doing that gesture on mobile is reloading the page, and swiping like that might trigger like a go back to the previous page. So it doesn't feel right. It keeps reloading. It's bad. Okay, it's not working. And to fix that, we need to add touch action to none if we follow the use gesture documentation. I actually put a link, so check the link as always, that explains exactly what's happening there. And there are some examples, so you can open that page on your mobile and you will see those issues. And to fix those issues, it's super easy, but we need to do it. You will go to CSS. You will target whatever needs to be targeted. For us, we're going to target the canvas because there is only one canvas in the scene. Make sure that you are targeting the right element. Just give it a try on your mobile and you will see if it's working or not. And I'm going to add a touch action and set it to none, like that. And I'm going to reload the page. Actually, I don't need to reload the page. So let's see if you can see it more clearly. And now I'm going to do that and check it's working. I can try to go down. I can try to go up. No reloading. And the gesture is now perfectly working. So that's all. You just add touch action none, which will probably limit the usual touch gesture that will reload, etc. And now the experience is much better on mobile. Okay, great. Next, let's talk about the rotation. The default rotation is actually quite good. Maybe we could move the camera instead of changing the rotation, but I want to show you that you can change the rotation on the presentation controls. So we can do rotation equal, and it's going to be the default rotation. I'm quite sure it's earlier, so it's going to be 0.13, 0.1, and 0. And if I save, okay, it moved a bit. Okay, so it's the default rotation of the presentation controls. You can move the camera or the presentation controls. Next, currently we can rotate quite a lot. There is some limitation, like if you go up, see, I can't go more. I can't rotate it more. And if I go down, there is a limit too. We're going to control those limits so that at least we always see the screen and we can't see behind it. Okay. To do that, there are two limitations. The polar angle that we are going to start with. So it's going to be polar like this, and you provide an array like that. I'm going to put values that will just work. You will see. Minus 0.4 and 0.2. And check that now. If I try to drag and drop it, make it rotate vertically, okay, the polar is only vertically, it stops. So I can still do it, but it's limited. Next is the azimuth. Azimuth? I'm not sure. Let's say azimuth. It's going to be an array again, minus 1, 0.75, like this. And this one is for the horizontal drag and drop. So this one here, see, I can't go further. And the other side, I can't go further. All right, it's working. Next, the spring configuration. So I told you earlier that this presentation controls is using springs to handle the animation. Because yes, there is an animation. When you do this, that, it feels smooth, just smooth, not too much. They said it so that it just feels great. We can play with that. And since it's using Spring, we can use the Spring configuration, which is just an object where you put a bunch of values. We are not going to go into to dive too deep into that configuration, but if you're curious, go check the documentation of Spring. It's not that complicated. All right, yeah, let's go. We need two new attributes. First is the config attributes, and it's the one that is happening when you drag and you keep the drag. Okay, it's this one here. there is an animation, a smooth animation happening here. I'm not releasing the click, and we can configure that animation using the config attribute. So let's go, config, like this. And I'm going to send an object and decide on the mass and the tension. As I told you earlier, it's physically based. It's like you have an object and a spring, and there are some traction and physics happening on those. I'm going to give it a reload and check that. See, there is some kind of elastic effect. It seems to go a little further and then it comes back and it does that. That's the idea. Not too much, just a little, so it feels a bit more funny. Next is the snap. What I'm talking about. I told you right before that the config is for when we drag and drop the laptop. Okay, like this. There is no other animation, right? Well, actually, you can add another animation. If you add a snap attribute, the object, when you release the mouse or the trackpad or whatever, the object will go back to the initial position. And it's that animation I'm talking about. When the object, when you release it, it will go back to the initial position, and you can have a different configuration. That's exactly what we're going to do. So you add a snap attributes, you set a kind of a different animation. It's very similar, but I add more mass to it. And check that now. When you drag and drop and release, it goes back to the initial position. Okay, like that. And the mass is like, it's a bit like it's heavier, although it's not accurate. Let's say that it's heavier, so the animation feels a bit slower, and the elastic might work a bit more, and you can play with so much more attributes. Let's move forward. Next in the list is the shadow. Let's keep things simple and use the contact shadows, because as you know, there is a bunch of shadow solution. We don't need something too realistic, but we want to make sure that we can notice it. And I like to have smooth shadows, which is why I'm going to go for the contact shadows. So let's go, we can import it. So there we're going to do contact shadows like this. And next we're going to add it. I think it's below everything. Yeah. Outside of the presentation. Why? Because we don't want the shadow to rotate. Okay, we don't want the shadow to follow the cursor. We want to feel that there is a flat flow below the camera. So it's going to be outside of the presentation controls. Contact, shadows, position. Why? Because we want to move it down a little. -1.4, something like that. And we auto close it. Like that. See, there is a shadow below. It's a bit too strong. We can change it a little. Maybe you remember the various attributes we have access to. I'm going to lower the opacity, 0.4. Check that, much better. I'm going to change the scale of it, because I think the default scale is 10 and it's bigger than what I need. I'm going to put 5. Yeah. And then the blur, I'm going to put 2.4, something like that. Let me see. I give it a reload, but you don't have to reload it. Yeah, this one is nice. Next, I told you earlier that we're going to use an iframe to add the actual HTML website to that screen. If you want to display on yeah, HTML and CSS website. First, we need an actual HTML and CSS website. You can use your own if you have one. So if you have something online, great, you can use it. But in this case, we're going to use my HTML CSS website that I've created. I don't even know why I have this one here, which is kind of the simple version of my portfolio. So you can use this one like me, or you can use yours. You do whatever you want. Let's go. If you're using your own, yeah, make sure that the server allows you to use yours as an iframe. This is a detail. Some servers will not let you put your website on any iframe. It won't work. You will get an error. I'm not going to show you how to allow it, because it depends on so many factors, like the host solution you are using. But if you're using yours, if you get an error, you will see that, you will understand that that's the issue, and I'll let you discover how to allow it. So how do we implement it? We're going to use an iframe. Okay, it's a tag that will create kind of a window that leads to another website. Maybe you've seen iframes already. It's really like if you have a website and you want to put another website inside of it, you can do it by using an iframe, some kind of website exceptions, you know. And we're going to do that so that we have that iframe right here, and the iframe will follow the actual laptop. To make that iframe follow the laptop, we are going to use the HTML helper. Remember this one that we've seen a few lessons ago? We're going to use this one. It will be so convenient. HTML, so you import HTML, be careful, it's only the H is uppercase, from React 3 Dre. And in the primitive, yes, we can add it directly inside the primitive. It's possible. You can, in 3JS, you can add objects into objects into objects. A group is an object. A mesh is an object. That's the way it works. We can add things inside of things. So we're going to add it inside the primitive. So we're going to close it with the closing tag in order to be able to put stuff inside. And first we're going to just put HTML with, this is going to be an iframe like that, so that we can see something. And it's there. Okay. If I rotate, it seems to follow, but we don't have this effect where it feels like it's part of the 3D. It's following some kind of points, some 3D points on the laptop, but we have some work to do. First, we're going to replace what's inside by an actual iframe, because yes, you can put some HTML in there, not just a text. So we're going to do iframe, src, and I'm going to use the link to my HTML portfolio. So https://brunosimon.com/html/. Check that. That's my portfolio. So again, we have some work to do, but it seems to be working. We have an iframe inside the WebGL. By the way, what you see here is an iframe on top of the canvas. Okay, it's not part of the WebGL, it's on top of it, but it looks like it's part of it, especially once we add some more attributes. And the first one, which is really important, is the transform attribute, because we want the iframe to transform itself so that it also rotates. Is it possible? Yes, absolutely. We just need to add the transform attributes. So on the HTML, we're going to add transform, just transform, and check that. So it's a bit weird. We have some work to do, but it's working. See? I have a OK, I'm not sure. Maybe it comes from the iframe. Just if you get this OK, just ignore it. I probably did a mistake somewhere. So let's talk about the size, because right now, well, it doesn't look good. Those are good news. I mean, we have the iframe. The iframe seems to be following our model when we drag and drop, but it doesn't look really good. Let's fix the size. We're going to, first, the current iframe is small. Yeah, I know that's weird, but check that. Check what's inside of that. The website should look like this. And it feels like the website is a bit more like that, see? Like if it was super small, so it's a very small iframe, something like 300 pixels maybe, but this small iframe has been stretched. That's also the reason why we can see maybe the pixels like that. See on the title, it doesn't look good. So we need to fix that. First, we're going to make the iframe bigger. So this iframe here, we're going to make it bigger regardless of how it looks in the WebGL. We just want the window, the window corresponding to the portfolio to be bigger, so that the pixel and what's inside of it isn't compressed into, I don't know, like 300 pixels. To do that, we're going to use CSS, because this is just HTML content. And in order to target it, we are going to add a class to this, our HTML. So first, we're going to add a class using the wrapper class. And the class we can use, or you can put whatever you want. I'm going to use a camel case and call it HTML screen. Yes, I wasn't very inspired. You can change the class if you want, because the only thing we're going to use that class for is to target it in the style.css file. So right here. So let's go HTML screen, and I'm going to target the actual iframe inside of it. Remember that there is some divs inside a div, inside an iframe, maybe something like that. We don't care. We just want to target the iframe. And in there, I'm going to provide a decent width and height, some kind of small computer. You can actually put a bigger resolution, but it will make the button small. Remember that we are putting the website in that small area here. So we want the responsive effect to do its trick, so that buttons are bigger, etc. So anyway, you will see what we get. We're going to put a width to 1024, why not? And then a height to 670 pixels. Like that. So right now it's way too big. okay? But we are going to make the element smaller, but the website inside of it will fit better right now. It's like having something, I don't know, maybe like this. I think we will have this here. Oh, I was quite near. It's not exactly the size I've put, but we are quite near. We're going to have this area that will fit inside the screen. Okay. Next, so I'm going to put that here. We need to make the final element smaller because right now it's way too big. And to do that, we're going to add, so it's on the experience.js. In there, we're going to add a distance factor, and we're going to put it to 1.17. Check that. Now it's working. We have a good layout. Maybe it's a bit too small, but I'm using it on a quarter of my screen. If you put it on full screen, let's see. It's decent, like we can read the text. If you want to tweak it, be my guest. Okay, let's put back the initial layout. We have access to the iframe. It's the opportunity to do some fixes on that iframe. First, I don't know if you can notice it, but there is a border around the iframe, all right? A small border lines all around the iframe. We can fix that by adding a border to none. So border property on the iframe selector to none. And now it's gone. Easy. Next, I'm going to add a border radius. I know there is no border radius on MacBook Pros, but I think it looks better. Sorry, Apple fans. If you don't want, don't add it. I'm talking about a small border radius like here. See, there is a small border radius all around. Will look better even if it's not accurate. And finally, we can put a background to black so that when the iframe is loading, where the screen will be all black, because by default I'm quite sure it's going to be white, which is not great. You're going to see a white flash for, I don't know, like half a second or something like that. So let's put a black instead. All right, now nice. We can give it a reload. Okay, seems good. Next, obviously, our screen is not at the right position, so we're going to offset it a little. Let's get back to experience.js, and in there, we're going to play with the position attribute. There is no trick here. It's the usual thing. So 0 on the X, because we don't want it to move it like this. The X, by the way, it's relative to the laptop, because the iframe is inside the laptop. I mean, the HTML is inside the model. So X is like this, Z is like that, and Y is like this. For the Y, let's move it up. That's exactly where using Leva might be super useful, because finding the right position by just changing the number is quite a long process. We get something like that. Nice, it's getting better. Next, obviously, we need to rotate it. So rotation only on the X, and it's going to be minus 0.256, like that. And now it fits our screen perfectly. Almost perfectly. Yeah, maybe it's a bit offsetted. Anyway, it's good enough. Next, it's good, but there is a small issue. If you have a screen displaying an orange website like that, your laptop should be a bit orange because the light of the screen should illuminate the laptop itself. So we're going to fix that. Currently, the only light is the environment light, which looks good. We can see our laptop, that's great, but we want to add some orange light going out from the screen. To do that, we're going to use the rect area light and put it right here. So let's go. We can add it. It's going to be inside the float. Yeah, that's for sure. It has to be inside the float. We could have put it inside the primitive, actually. I don't know why I didn't do the same as for the HTML. Anyway, we will get a good result regardless of that. Area light. I'm going to close it, auto close it, sorry. So auto close it, I'm going to put a bunch of attributes. You can use my attributes. I just spend some time with Leva trying to find the right position and the right color. So the width is going to be 2.5. Next, the height is going to be 1.65. The intensity is going to be quite high, 65. The color is going to be some orange, so we need to provide a string. We can provide an hexadecimal like this, so 69, FF6900. Then we can provide, let's see what we get. Yeah, see, it's working, but currently the directional light is going toward, is facing the screen. We want the opposite, so we need to do some rotation. Rotation equal, and it's going to be Euler, so 0.5 math pi and 0. Okay, it's going the other way, and it has been rotated a little. And next we can add the position equal, and we're going to move it, where is the iframe right now? So it's going to be 0.55 minus 1.15, like that. So you can't see it. You can add an helper if you want to see it, but the rect area light is right here, where my iframe is, and it's going to light everything that is in front of it, which is cool because if you want to add an environment, like, I don't know, some boxes, etc., you will be able to see the lights working on those boxes, and rotating it will work too. We are not going to go that far because I wanted a quite simple lesson, but at the end, feel free to add a bunch of stuff. I can't wait to see what you can do. Anyway, let's move forward. We are almost done. We're going to add the text. Why? Well, because our project lacks a clear understanding of its purpose, all right? Because the actual content is inside this smaller area. What we are going to do is a bit silly. We're going to add a big title here with our name, okay? That's a very simple solution, but at least we understand that, okay, if you have the name of someone, it's probably just a portfolio. So let's go. We're going to use the text helper from Dre. We're just using a bunch of helper. Once you understand React Fiber, it's just composition. You compose with all those tools that you have access to. So how do we implement it? We're going to import the text from Dre. Next, we're going to add it inside the float too. I don't know why I put it at the end. Why not? So text. You can add, by the way, I don't add comments. I said that earlier, but I don't add comments because I want as much code to fit in the screen, but you should add things like light, like screen light or something like that. Then you should add a model or laptop or something like that. You should definitely add some comments. I'm not doing it to have as much code as possible in the screen, but you should do it. So right here, right before closing the float, I'm going to put Bruno Simon. Is your name Bruno Simon? I don't think so. You should put your name in there. Or for now, we can try with Bruno Simon because we're going to tweak it so that it fits perfectly. So what's happening here? The Bruno Simon is right here. I don't know if you can see it. It's right under my cursor. And be careful. See what's happening here? Yeah, there is an issue. It's not a big deal because we are going to put the text right here, but the iframe is on top of the text we've just added. No big deal. We don't have something in front of it. There are some solutions to have some canvas. I think you need 2 canvases or maybe something like that, like a canvas, an iframe, a canvas, and everything that is on top of it should have you will use some stencil or something like that. I'm not sure. Anyway, there are some solutions, but we don't care about that. We're going to put the title right here. First, we're going to play with the font. I'm going to use the Bangers font from Google Fonts. You know that I like this one. It's a bit silly, it's a bit cartoonish, but I really like the effect it creates because it creates some contrast. Because right now it looks way too serious. Our portfolio is not very funny, even if there is some orange. I want to add a funnier font, so we're going to use the Bangers. I put the link of Bangers. It's this one here. Yeah, it looks like someone is screaming, you know, when you read comics. I really like this one. I'm going to close those. Let me see. Yeah, okay. So let's go. Feel free to use any fonts you like. If you want to use a font on Google Fonts, so you just roam the Google Fonts, you take, I don't know, like I want this one here. You can use the Google Font helper that we've seen in a previous lesson. It's the same font. So if I like, I don't know, like Nunito, I type Nunito right here, and I can download it as WOF more easily using that solution, right? That's the idea of this website. And if you're using fonts, make sure that you have the right to use those fonts. So check the licenses. If it's from Google Fonts, it's fine. You can use them. Okay, I've already put one in the public folder. It's right here at the root of the public folder, which is a bit silly, but we don't have that many files. So in the text, we're going to put 2 things. First, we're going to add some line breaks and indentation. And in there, I'm going to put the actual font. and provide the path with dot slash, and it's bangers dash v20 dot latin dot regular dot woof, like that. Next, we're going to change the size with font size and equal 1 should be fine, and we get something like that, and it's working nice. Obviously we need to move it over there, we need to add a line break, etc. So let's do that. First we're going to move it with the position. What's happening? Yeah, okay, XYZ. So we provide an array to 0.75 0.75. It should be on the top right corner. Yeah, right here. Next we can rotate it only on the y-axis. So rotation y equal minus 1.25, like that. Great. We're going to add a line break. So this part really depends on your name, how long it is. Maybe you should tweak also the size of it. To add the line break, what I'm going to do, there are some solutions to write a line break right in there, but if you do that, it's not going to add a line break. I think you have to provide it as, I don't know, maybe the text. No, it's not text. Content. No, it's not content. Children, maybe. Yeah, children. And in there, you provide a comment like Bruno, Simon, and put a line break in there, which is with that. No. Okay, it's by writing it like that. So you can provide a line break yourself like this and putting a anti/r, and it's working. That's great. But instead, I'm going to get back to the initial solution I had, because I want to show you another attribute, which is the max width. And the max width will automatically create the line breaks. So max width, I'm going to put 2. That's where you might have to change it according to the length of your name, first name and last name. So I'm going to put 2, and the line breaks was done automatically, and that's great. You can also control the text align, because right now if I have a name like this, yeah, see that? It seems to be aligned on the left. So I can put text align. I'm lucky because Bruno and Simon, there is the same, it's the same width, but in your case, it's probably different. So we're going to add a text align and set it to center, like this, center. Great. And I'm going to put back Bruno with just 1 O, like this. And we are done. That's it. Check the result. We get this. It was so fast. I mean, check that. It's been like 50 minutes, and we actually spent a lot of time testing stuff and explaining things that we don't really care about. And just in less than 1 hour, we created a cool little portfolio, and we enhanced the initial portfolio. So that's great. It's working. But you can go obviously much further. I have to limit myself. I wanted to add so much more, but I was like, let's the students have fun on its own and see what they are going to build. So you should definitely go further. Here I'm gonna give you some ideas, but obviously you probably had many ideas along the process. First, I think that having an introduction animation where the object comes up, the object come up when ready and loaded could be fun. All right, because right now it just pops, like see. Path, it's going to display. It's not very interesting. Maybe you can, I don't know, maybe the laptop can open. Actually, that's what I put right here. Maybe it can comes from the floor. Maybe you can see an animation in the iframe when it's dark, and then it's suddenly the screens turns on, and the lights will follow the same animation. I mean, there are a bunch of entering animation you can do. You can add sounds. Okay, you can maybe if the user clicks here and there, you can hear some clicks or whatever. By the way, be careful. If you add sounds, most browser will prevent you from playing sounds if the user didn't interact with the page. Interacting like clicking somewhere. Now you can play sound, but if the user never clicked on the page, you can't play sounds. Be careful with that. You can make the camera zoom on the screen when hovering it, because right now, see, it's a small screen. It's hard to read. I mean, if it's in a full screen, it's obviously a bit better. But what could be cool is that when we hover it, the camera zoom in or something like that. You can add some Easter eggs. I don't know, maybe you can add stuff below, under, put some stickers here and there. You can add a better environment with objects in the back, because currently the environment is a bit boring. If you add some objects here with mesh standard material, you will see the light on those. So maybe there are some things to do with that. Be careful, the iframe is on top of everything. I also provided an example for this one. Check that. It looks like that. So it's from Paul again, and it's a bit similar but more advanced, and it looks like this. See, having a good environment can be super fun, and it's also like a web page that you can rotate around. And in there is the trick to make the WebGL on top of an iframe. I'll let you discover how he did it. This is not part of the lesson. You can add a reflection to the screen, but be careful. It has to be part of the iframe. This one is super tricky to do. You will have to find some tricks to add reflections, but not WebGL reflections. It has to be part of the iframe. Maybe by retrieving the rotation and you just move a layer in the iframe or something like that. I mean, not in the iframe, maybe just above the iframe, you have some layer simulating reflection and you just move them on the opposite of their rotation. And it might do the trick. I'm not even sure it will work, but that's kind of a cool challenge. You can improve the content of the iframe. Yeah, just put some classic HTML website that fits what I need, but you should work on what's inside of there and make sure that it looks good and yeah, we can use it. And finally, something mobile friendly. We handle the use gesture thing, but if you test that website on your mobile, you will see that the title will go out. So maybe there are some improvements to do for the mobile. And I had so many ideas, but you probably had some ideas. Please improve it and show me what you got. And post it on Twitter, and I will be happy to see it and maybe retweet it. All right, I think we're done. Yes, and I will see you in the next lesson.